What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Second Avenue Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathon and Elijah.
I'm your other host, Elijah Venencia. Welcome back, everyone. We don't have too much going on in our personal lives right now. Pretty much just working all week for me. Johnny, what you been up to this week?
Man, I've been on the grind trying to find a job. I thought having a master's degree, having some experience would be easy. It's a cutthroat world out here. I'm finding that out.
I mean, definitely. You'll find one though. Just getting the process started. Of course, you're not too far into it actually. So
No, I'm trusting the process. I'm confident. I know. The right job will come along. I'm just very picky about what I want to do because I know what I want to do. So it's like I don't want to lead anybody on short term. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to be here for a long time. But I know I'm really not because I know what I want to do. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, as an assistant manager at AT&T, I kind of, take part in the hiring process. And that's like one of our big things is we do not want temporary people. So
that's what I'm saying. That's why my dad's like, oh, good job here, good job here. I feel bad. I'd feel so bad leading somebody on like, oh yeah, I love the company. Could see myself here. And then I'd leave in 3 months when I get the job I really want. So unless it's like known up front that it's going to be a short-term thing, I don't think I can do anything like that.
Yeah. Speaking of work, just got off work and just had my nice ride home, but the 8-minute drive. And I was DS2 randomly came on. So I was really thinking to myself, I really got to consider that the greatest trap album ever. For me personally, what are your thoughts on that? Is that a hot take or?
I think I said that last episode.
Did you?
I think I said that last episode because when we were talking about the Rolling Stone list, it was like number 20. And I was like, many people would say the greatest trap album of all time.
Yeah, I didn't put 2 and 2 together, honestly. Maybe
I think I said that, or maybe I thought it. I don't know. But I don't think it's a hot take at all. Like, it's a fantastic album.
Definitely. Speaking of albums, though, we haven't done a quiz in a while. We didn't have too much of an intro here. So let's test your knowledge.
Let's get it.
Your first hint is this album dropped in 2016. Iconic year for music here. So
I'm going to guess it's Lil Boat by Lil Yachty.
You're incorrect, sir.
Okay.
Next hint. This was this artist's 4th studio album.
4th studio album. Okay. 2016. I mean, that was a big year. You got a lot of big drops. Obviously, you had like all the big ones drop between like Kanye, but that's obviously not going to be his 4th. Drake, obviously not going to be his 4th. I have a guess, but I don't know what year this album came out. The guess is I Decided by Big Sean.
You were incorrect.
I think that might have come out in 2017, though.
That was the 2017 release. Earlier 2017, though, because I remember it was like freshman year and that it just hit, and I was still in high school and everything. But all right, for your final guess here, this album has 0 features.
I mean, that seems like a big hint, right? But I think it almost would be a trick because, I mean, if you think about J. Cole, he obviously got Sideline Story, Born Sinner, 2014 Forest Hills Drive, and then For Your Eyes Only. So I do think it is.
Is that your final guess? Yes, that you are correct. You're okay, absolutely correct.
I thought you could trick me up though. Like that is one that you could definitely like trip somebody up on.
Well, especially at that time, it was huge. J. Cole went platinum with no features. So I feel like the no features was a very good hint for you on your final one.
No, that was a fantastic hint. So I like that question though. That was good because I don't know, when I think of 2016, to get to today's episode, I think of the freshmen from 2016. I think of the Uzis, the Yachties, the Denzel Currys, all these people. And that's like kind of the start of them and not necessarily the end of like J. Cole and Drake and them, but like you start to see some other people catching up to him a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I feel like with December releases specifically, I always associate those albums with the following year. Cause I mean, that's, primarily where they were bumped for me personally. So same thing with like, Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial. I was listening to that today. I was like, oh, this was 2020 or it was 2019 release real late in December though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same thing with For Your Eyes Only. It was a late December. So I could see the confusion there where it wasn't.
I was listening to the title track For Your Eyes Only the other day and it did hit. Like I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs of all time, probably. One of the
I know.
best long songs. It goes crazy.
I feel like I don't know what it is about that song. It's not a bad song, don't get me wrong, but like everybody's like, this is the best Cole song, best Cole song. For me, Change is the best song off that album, and probably J. Cole's best song in my opinion.
I do see you post that song sometimes, and I'm like, he really likes that song. I
No,
don't find
yeah,
myself going back to it too much. I really
love
like
that
a
one.
Deja Vu. I really like, Neighbors, For Your
That
Eyes
one's
Only,
packed.
Ville
For a 10
Mentality,
track
For Whom the Bell Tolls. There's some hits.
for a 10 track album, that one is an excellent album to me.
Big facts. But yeah, you know what? You were just talking about, your freshman year is when you were bumping it. We got to talk about the freshman year. The freshman list, 2022 XXL Freshman List dropped last week. We kind of talked about it just briefly, but we wanted to take a full episode to kind of get into the artists that were selected and then talk about some artists that we think should have been freshmen this year. So let's get started here, taking a look at the first freshman this year. We have Nardo Wick, 22-year-old artist from Jacksonville, Florida, known for his biggest hit, Who Wants Smoke. I know you're a big fan of the remix of the song, particularly. What do you think about this selection for the freshman list?
I mean, he's got to be on there. He killed it with his debut project, Who is Nardo Wick. I thought a great project there. Obviously kind of getting into someone newer for the trap scene. And then Who Wants Smoke? That song is just such a banger for me and my friends and everything. I love the like remix cover. It's just a car and they all have like guns out the car with laser beams, and that's just that's the cover for it. And I think it's a tough cover for me.
A tough cover does always just, sometimes you can take a project to the next level or a song to the next level. Just seeing it on that phone when you're listening to it just hits a little bit different. But yeah, I agree. I think Nardo's a pretty good pick here. He has that hit. I feel like all these artists, for the most part, have that one hit that you can like identify with the artist with. And for me, it's definitely Who Wants Smoke, of course. Good song. The next artist on the 2022 XXL Freshman List is Doechii, 23-year-old artist from Tampa, Florida. Her biggest hit is Yucky Blucky Fruitcake, which I had to look up what song it was because I did not know it by name. But then it's one of those songs that you don't know by name. I didn't know like any songs of hers by name. But then I was like, oh yeah, you hear all these songs on TikTok like, hi, my name is, like, I don't know, you know how it goes.
Yeah,
it's like on TikTok, you know what I mean? So yeah, she's just popping off of TikTok. Not saying she's bad art, not saying she's a TikTok artist or anything like that, but the song is just going crazy on TikTok. I knew like every word to the start of that song.
Florida being represented well. The South is very well represented throughout all these freshman lists, especially for the past few years. I kind of feel like it's the way we're going. The Georgia, Florida artists, they're taking over.
Absolutely. You look back a couple of years ago, I mean, the past couple of years in general, it's just been straight heat from the South, from, like you said, Atlanta, all the way, not just the way freshmen, but all the way back to like the Migos start take over and then all that stuff. Gucci Mane, even back to him. The South's been popping for a while.
Moving on to our next artist, an Atlanta, Georgia artist here, 20 years old, Sofago. Obviously, his biggest hit, Knock Knock. What were your thoughts about having him on this list?
I thought, it was time. I honestly thought he could have been a freshman last year. He had those Cactus Jack ties. I think it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense for him to be on this list. I don't find myself going to Sofago's music too much personally, but I think it's like inevitable that he was going to be a freshman this year.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like a lot of these artists, they're not in my everyday constant rotation, but they're getting put on this list so they can, make some of our everyday rotations as they further their careers. So moving on though, this a little bit older selection here, 31 years old from Detroit, Michigan. We have Babyface Ray. He kills it with the trap scene. Obviously his biggest hit is If You Know, You Know with Moneybagg Yo. I really actually enjoy him, like him and ESTG. I don't know why. I'm not too like big into the trap scene or anything, but I enjoy him personally. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he's pretty cool. Don't listen too much, but like when I was looking up different songs to kind of get acquainted with these people for the episode, the ones that I wasn't so acquainted with, at least, I enjoyed his music. And I do want to say, you just talked about ESTG. A couple episodes back, I realized after the episode, I said SG. And then I was like, what was I doing? Like, then I heard someone say ESTG. And I was like, Damn, that's right. Like I just had never heard anybody say ESTG out loud. But then I was like, all the letters are capitalized. What was I doing? It makes a lot of sense, but whatever. Anyway, that's just besides the point.
Definitely. But yeah, I mean, another trap artist we got on here starting out. Pretty common theme with this list so far.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to another artist, Callie, 21 years old from Georgia. Her biggest hit, another song that is just huge on TikTok. I've seen so many videos using this song as the background sound. It's a hit.
I personally, I think she's going to be one of the next large female artists, you know, like one of the Nicki Minaj's, Megan Thee Stallions. Who else can we throw on that list? Cardi B, an artist like that, that is just a massive star as a female artist in rap. So
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, yeah, she's already got so much popularity. Taking this step, getting on the freshman list, it's good to see. Moving on to the next artist, though, we got the boy Casey, 24 years old, from Minnesota, originally from Kenya. His biggest hit in his own discography is The Sun, but obviously he has ties to Kanye from Donda. Another person I thought it was 100% lock. He was going to be on this freshman list, so it's good to see him here.
Yeah, along with the next artist that we're going to talk about, this is probably my most listened to out of the list. I mean, Nardo as well, but that would probably be my top 3 most listened to artists for this list.
Yeah, Casey is by far my number 1, and so like I was really hoping he was going to be on here, but at the same time, like I wasn't sure just because he's not that big. Like I was looking at his Spotify, and his biggest song has like 2 million plays or something like that. Like it's nothing crazy. Like some of these other artists have like, 20s, 30s, 40 million plays on their biggest song. And so having like 2 million, but I think he's just such a good artist, such a different artist from many other people on this list that it was great to see him here.
Definitely. Moving on though, the 24-year-old from Florida here, we got Coach Ice. That's probably I'd probably say that's the one I listen to the most though, for sure. Biggest hit being Tell 'Em. What were your thoughts on having him on the list?
Yeah, I think Coach is a good artist. I don't go out of my way to listen too much personally, but I mean, I've been familiar with him for a minute ever since he got on with those Lyrical Lemonade videos a couple years ago, maybe a year or two ago. I don't know how long ago.
This was one where I was like, he almost could have made the year before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like there's always a lot of artists like that. He's definitely one. Him and Sofago, I think, are the 2 for this year that I think could have been freshmen last year. But yeah, he makes good music and he has hits. Like his songs are some of the bigger songs from this freshman class. So I think it was definitely a strong choice to put him on this list.
Definitely. Moving on for our first Memphis, Tennessee artist here, 22-year-old Big 30. Biggest hit being Allegations featuring Pooh Shiesty, also featured on Neighbors by Pooh Shiesty.
He's a person that I really was not familiar with before he made this list. I had to go look up some of his songs, and then I saw that his biggest song was Allegations, like you said, but then he was featured on Pooh Shiesty's song Neighbors, which was like double the size. Like I think that one had like 40 million, and then his biggest song had like 20, if I remember right. But yeah, he was pretty good. Like I could not see myself listening to him every day, but I don't think he's making music for me.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has that Memphis, Tennessee sound. Artists like Moneybagg Yo or Young Dolph, the late Young Dolph also. So I mean, he definitely fits that sound along with the other artists that we have featured on here. But like you said, I'm in agreement with you. I haven't listened to him too much.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's kind of the beauty of this list. Like it's kind of a mix of people that have the accolades, have different sounds, or have the talent, and they're trying to get the exposure to a larger audience. A Double XL sees something in them, and kind of like an investment.
Definitely.
I think in the past they've honestly kind of gone with people that are too big at some points. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, we know all these people already. Like if you look like like a 2016, 2017 classes like that, like you knew a lot of those people already. And I don't know if that was just like, the age I was at, like I was, really into like whatever sounds they were picking at the time. And I'm just not so into like what they're picking right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know like a couple people on this list, whereas in the past I've known like every name. So
yeah. No, I'm definitely in agreement with you. I definitely say they went with a lot of like the trap artists this year, which, admittedly so, it's not my biggest subgenre of rap that I listen to.
Yeah, definitely. Same here. But the next artist on the list is Ken the Man, another artist I was not familiar with before, probably the artist I was least familiar with on this entire list. 27-year-old artist from Houston, Texas. Her biggest hit is He Be Like. Had not heard it. Listen to it. Pretty good song, though.
Yeah, this is one I admittedly haven't listened to either. I think they got the wrong Ken on the episode. We'll save that for later, though. Or not on the episode, on the list here.
I agree. We're going to get to that, though. The next artist, though, we got Big Scar, another Memphis, Tennessee artist, 22 years old. Biggest hit is So Icy Boys 2 with Pooh Shiesty, Fujiano, and Tay Keith.
Pooh Shiesty putting the Memphis youngins on, throwing out those features everywhere. So it's good to see, of course, from fellow Memphis artists.
That I agree, but that was one thing that I kind of thought about when he was my person that I had not heard. So I listened to him, and I think him and Big Scar are so similar that I'm like, I kind of wish they would have gone a different way with one of those spots.
Yeah, no, I think like a lot of the artists that come out from Memphis have a very, like, they rap about the same things and they sound alike almost. So.
And you could kind of say the same thing about the Michigan scene. Like, they sound kind of similar with the flows and stuff, but they kind of talk about different things. They have like unique references, off the wall flows, but it kind of like off the wall flow is similar throughout the artists.
Moving on though to our 11th artist, we have Saucy Santana, 28-year-old artist from Connecticut. Started out as a makeup artist for City Girls, which is very interesting. Biggest hit being Material Girl.
This is another song that I knew from TikTok.
Yeah, I mean,
these artists just going crazy on TikTok.
I feel like that is the biggest one that's like popped out of all these, arguably with Who Wants Smoke, but Material Girl, you used to hear that one everywhere on TikTok. So
facts, it was pretty big. I was not familiar with Saucy Santana beyond that TikTok song. Like, I didn't even know whose song it was, but then I was like, oh yeah, like obviously everybody knows this song. Pretty crazy though. Like, the City Girls makeup artist, that part was crazy. Like, I had no idea any of this background about Saucy Santana, and then kind of look into it. I was like, oh damn, that's pretty cool.
Definitely. Moving into the last artist that they had, the 10th spot winner, which we were both confused why it's called the 10th spot winner if there's 12 artists, but we have Babytron, another Detroit rapper, not Detroit rapper, Michigan rapper. I'm not sure where he's from there, but his biggest hit is Jesus Shuttlesworth. Shout out Ray Allen on that one. Another trap artist here. I feel I haven't listened to him too much. Went back through a few of his songs. It's pretty good.
I am obsessed with Babytron right now. Like, when I first heard him, I was like, this guy's crazy. Like, I love it. I listened to it for a couple like days or whatever, and then just didn't listen to it for a while. And now I'm back in on it. Like, he's just so crazy. He's got these off the wall flows. He has a video with Lyrical Lemonade and Cole Bennett. It's one of the ones where he shot in the iPhone, which I kind of feel like, people feel a way about the iPhone videos, but whatever. He did one with Babytron. Babytron did, I think, 21 or 22 different beats in the one video, and it's like a 5.5 minute song or whatever. So he does like 2 bars, then switches the beat. It's pretty interesting. But he's got some crazy flows. I love just the group Shitty Boys. Like, that's like the funniest thing ever to me. And there's like Shitty Boys at the start of the song. I just crack up every single time. But my favorite thing, I love that he uses like the purposely shitty cover arts, like the classic like 2000s 2010 mixtape covers. Like, he has like the one, it's Luka Doncic, and it's just like
Yeah.
It's just so great. I love it.
I think it's so hilarious when they do do things like that. I can't it was King Von, the late King Von, RIP, and he has a album. I never knew this till like probably a month or two ago, and I asked you about it. I was like kind of confused, but he has an album called LeVon James. He's doing the powder toss on the cover.
They're great. Like, I think if you're like in on the joke, it's funny, but if you're like doing it because you think it's good, that's when it's tough. Like Gucci Mane, he knows what he's doing. Gucci Mane is the king of shitty covers.
I love the Toy Story. Well, I mean, Gucci Mane, like, you have fucking 100 albums, like,
yeah, they're not all going to be 10 out of 10
projects.
ideas.
Yeah.
But his are definitely funny all the time, which I do appreciate. So after we got done looking at this year's freshman list, we took it upon ourselves to fix it and, pick our 10. They did 12. We want 10 just to narrow down a little bit, make it a little more selective of a list. We actually agreed on 8 selections. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Like, some of these people definitely got left off. The first one being, we talked about it last week a little bit, Kenny Mason. I thought Kenny Mason was going to be a lock this year. He really leveled up. He had a pretty good project last year. And then he got put on Dreamville this year. I thought it was a lock this year.
He could have arguably made it last year, and then him not making it this year is extremely disappointing. He killed it in Stick. That's probably one of my favorite features so far this year.
100% same. That's one of my favorite songs of the year. So I thought this was his year for sure. And I think it's always interesting about like when an artist doesn't make it one year and then the next year they're too big and they turn it down. Like, I don't want to say he'd do that, but like, it could be a possibility next year. Like Kenny Mason could level up. Huge.
I don't see him taking an invitation if he they want to put him on the, what would it be, 2023 now. I think after snubbing him 2 years in a row, you can't take the disrespect no longer.
I agree. There's just some artists that, it's just not in the cards for them to be on the XXL Freshman List. I think Kenny Mason would be one of those artists, but we'll see. The next artist, Red Veil. Red Veil's still very young, very talented. We both agreed that he should have been on the list. Kind of disappointed not to see him.
Big snub.
He's one of the most talented young rappers out. One of the most unique young rappers out. Great production, great rapping. I think he brings something that a lot of these rappers featured on the list don't bring.
It's not a very versatile list. My issue with it. It's not a bad list per se, but it's not very versatile. I think he brings a different sound in. Learn to Swim is a great project for 2022. So
great project. Maybe I think that might have been, I don't know when it came out. I forget when, but I think it might have been a little late past, like, maybe when they decided for this year's freshman list. So maybe that's why he wasn't on here. But I mean, he still had a good project with, Niagara a little bit back. So I could have seen him being on the list, but whatever. The next artist that we both had was Yeet. I think I saw the Yeet turn this freshman list down, which I think has to be the case because there's no way he could not have been offered a spot on this list, because he's probably one of the biggest artists that's like just starting to pop in the mainstream. I mean, he's doing all these things with Lyrical Lemonade. Apparently the Minions.
Yeah, he had a track on the Minions, along with Brockhampton as well.
So yeah, I think Yeet, I mean, I don't know how he wasn't on here unless he turned it down. That's the only way.
Definitely. That's got to be the case. Definitely one of the biggest upcoming artists. Crazy project this year with 2 Alive. So.
For sure. Next artist that we both agreed on that was not on the list was Ken Carson. I thought Ken Carson was going to be a lock this year.
I also thought, that was another surprise. Someone that should have made it, but they didn't. It's disappointing, of course, but it's not a bad list regardless.
Mm-hmm. I feel like him and Cardi got a lot of like the same fans, so maybe the Cardi stands might be going crazy on the XXL Twitter on those ciphers, and they start dropping.
They need to.
They got to make sure they know.
Let's get the demons rounded up.
Somebody has to. Next artist that we both agreed on was featured on the freshman list, Sofago. Like I said, I think he could have been a freshman last year. So I think this year it made so much sense he was on here. He has the hits. He has the talent. It was a lock.
Definitely should have been on there with Kenny Mason, another lock that arguably could have made it the year before.
Facts. There are actually 3 more artists that we agreed on, and they were Babytron, Casey, and Nardo Wick. They all, were very deserving of spots this year. They all kind of bring something. I think those 3 are very different from each other. So I like those 3 being on the list together.
Yeah, I also think so. I think it's hard to make it versatile because you kind of want to get what's hot at the time, but I think there's a good range there between those 3.
Definitely. Like, I think there is something about the freshman list, and they want to kind of reward the people that have the hits and have, the popularity already, and kind of stamp them on the XXL Freshman List. I think something big this year is the TikTok and the virality of all these artists. And I don't think these 3 artists necessarily have that, but they just have the talent. And so I like seeing them on the list.
Definitely. And I think that's, going to be a common trend for music and social media, just having to collab together. And like it, you have a song blow on TikTok, you are going to have a very good shot at making this list, as long as you know you have something other than just what blew on TikTok. So
Facts. But that leaves 2 spots on both of our lists. So do you want to get into your 2 picks that
I
we did not agree
Cochise
on?
and Cali as my other 2. We've already gotten in at both these artists, but I think 8 out of 10 is pretty impressive for such a. I mean, I don't know, it's not a huge list, I guess, but it's pretty impressive. That we're so in sync on that. I like that.
I know. I was pretty surprised too, honestly. Like we did send each other our lists. Sometimes I like to go in blind and just see what the reaction is, but we kind of want to just make sure we're on the same page and be familiar with everybody that we're picking. But yeah, when you sent me that list and I saw the screenshot, and I also thought it was my own. I was like, it looks the exact same. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a big list, and so I like that we're in the same space with who we're picking. Like those are 8 very, very deserving artists, along with your other 2 that you selected. So
definitely, I think everybody who made the list and everybody we're talking about now deserve to make it. I wouldn't say I'm going to pull someone off and replace them with this, because everybody deserves to make this list or be considered for it.
facts. They're definitely there for a reason, but I just kind of listen to some of these other people a little bit more, a little bit bigger fan of them, so I was pulling for them. The 2 that I was pulling for were Bia and then Mike Dimes. Mike Dimes, I think he might be just a little bit too small, but he's so talented. Like I would have been so happy to see him on this list, as well as Bia. She's got some hits. She got the J. Cole collab. I wouldn't have been surprised to see her here.
That was another one I would have liked to see, but we only had 10 spots, so she didn't make my list.
That's facts. Honestly, with her though, like I had to look and see if she had made it before. I was like, she could have been a freshman last year. Like she was starting to pop like last year.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Where that's like always did they make it last year, or I just feel like it's so hard to judge who's technically a freshman.
Definitely. I mean, I kind of think that's a good segue, because you quizzed me at the beginning of the episode and I got a quiz for you.
All right, let's go.
I'm
0 for 1 from the fucking. That's like, that one still gets at me, because it's like they were so perfectly lined up that it could have been either of them.
Yeah. So I picked 4 artists that were XXL freshmen, and I want you to tell me what year they were freshmen.
Okay, I like that.
Okay. I kind of went from what I think is the easiest to the hardest.
Okay.
So we'll start off. Playboy Cardi.
Ooh, what? I'm gonna go 2018 here.
Okay. He was 2017, so I was close.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna be like within a year on all of these.
That is what I thought. Like, I think
I wanted to. I was gonna say 2016,
we'll
but I was like, he wasn't a part of that legendary class.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were gonna guess. That's why I picked him. So I was like, okay, that'll be his thought process. Like he feels like 2016, but then 2017.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about like when he blew though, 2018 felt right. But like I said, I'll probably get all these off by a year.
Let's see. The next one we got Vince Staples.
Vince Staples. He was. I was actually just looking through this the other day. I think 2015, right?
2015. I think arguably the worst XXL freshman class.
Yeah, that was.
Of all time.
Who is the other one? There's like 2 good artists.
They got Fetty Wap. They got the GOAT.
Yeah, I mean Fetty Wap, that was another big one. K Camp, Jared, my boy Jared back in the day used to love K Camp. But yeah, that is a weak class. Looking over it.
Yeah, just compared to some of those, not bad, but not on the level of some of these other ones. But the next artist I picked for you to guess is Future.
Future. He was. I feel like 2014's too late, but that'll be my guess.
Okay, it was 2012. So 2014 was a little bit too late. He was one that, I mean, he's been big for a long time, but 2012 does feel like a long time ago. Like it doesn't seem like Future's been huge for 10 years, but he has. Like it's kind of crazy. Like I do remember listening to Future in like 7th grade.
Yeah, see that I didn't really get too much into Future until he dropped DS2, and then he was also on What a Time to Be Alive, of course. So
the next artist and last artist I had for you to guess was Lil Durk.
Lil Durk, he was 2013.
2014. So see, that was close.
Yeah. I've watched a TikTok or been watching these TikToks of like when they're from. So I'm like, I should know these. I literally just watch videos and all these, but it's tough, in the moment, in the spotlight.
It definitely is. No, anybody sitting there watching this or listening to this thinking they could do it, it's not as easy. It's not as easy when you're going to be on the internet.
Yeah, no, it's
a little bit of pressure.
Not, but yeah, I'm okay with my guesses. The future one, I probably should have went 2013, 2012, but
no, I mean, the other thing to consider is like you were fairly young at that point. Like you weren't like watching the 2012 freshman list come out.
Yeah, that is true, but I'll perfect my craft next time. I'm getting whatever quiz you give me right. So
maybe next episode, maybe not. We'll see. I don't want to spoil it. We'll see. But the last thing I do want to say about the freshman list before we move on to the news this week, there are a couple of people I wanted to give honorable mentions. I thought they could have been here, but for whatever reason, I just chose not to go with them. The first one's got to be Tizo Touchdown. When I was first thinking about this list, I thought Tizo was a lock. I thought it was no question Tizo Touchdown was 100% going to be on my list personally. But then I was thinking about it, and he hasn't released his own album or anything yet. He's just been on Tyler's album, has a couple songs out. So I was like, next year. I think next year for sure.
Maybe one who could potentially make the list very soon.
So he's in next year. I just didn't think it was time for him yet. Also, Tom the Mailman, so talented, so great.
So talented. That's one of my favorites that I've just been listening to recently. I don't know why, but
I just didn't think he had that hit. I didn't think he was like big enough yet. But then that's like, the debate. Is it about talent? Is it about popularity? I think it's a little bit of both.
The type of music he's making doesn't really, I guess it wouldn't really fit the list this year. So maybe they go in a different direction. I
agree. But you look at like an Anderson .Paak, he didn't fit like the SoundCloud type in 2016. Like I do think they value talent over fit sometimes. But yeah. And my final one was Young Manny. Shout out to Young Manny. He's got the hits. That man is running TikTok. He has like just some of the biggest songs on TikTok. Very talented. Shout out to Young Manny.
Shout out Young Manny. Shout out all the artists we were able to get on and talk about today. If you haven't listened, I think anybody we mentioned today is definitely worth the listen, of course. So moving on though, let's get into some of the releases we had this week. We have Lil Durk with 7220 Deluxe Edition, Roddy Ricch dropping an EP, Chris Brown also releasing, Lupe Fiasco finally releasing Drill Music in Zion, Giveon, MGK with the deluxe Elvis Presley soundtrack featuring Denzel Curry, Eminem, Doja Cat, Casey Musgraves, Nardo Wick, and more. We also had singles from Brent Faiyaz, Lil Nas X featuring NBA Youngboy, Dot the Genius featuring Cudi, JID, Denzel Curry. We also had a single from Eminem and Snoop Dogg. And then we had tracks from YG featuring 21 Savage, Bia, and Tyga. Another single from Beyonce, and then Gorillaz featuring Thundercat. We've had some loaded weeks of music here. We have been blessed for the past month or so. What have you given a listen to, or what has been your favorite listen throughout the week?
My favorite one's got to be the Brent single. I honestly did not know there was a single coming until like 11 last night, Central Time, of course. So yeah, I was pretty like surprised to see that Brent had dropped, just because the album is coming out, fairly soon, which we'll get into in a little bit. So I didn't know he was gonna be dropping a single. I thought maybe he was gonna just save it all, because a couple songs are already out that have been singles for well over a year at this point. Yeah. So I thought maybe he would just let it go at this point, but he was trying to build hype. I think there's a lot of people ready for this album, so this single just is a little bit more. I'm just very excited. Like, it was a great single. What do you think of that song?
I liked it. I'm very excited for the Brent album. Honestly, I haven't listened to him too much, so I'm very excited to get into. This will be like my first project I'll listen to on release day, so super excited for that. Moving on to like Roddy Ricch, I loved what he did with his little EP there. More of the sound he had off Feed the Streets and projects before. Please excuse me for being antisocial. Hopefully he can make a comeback. The internet is not a big fan of Roddy Ricch right now after Live Life Fast. So
yeah, I honestly did not listen to that album. I don't listen to Roddy Ricch too much, but I did listen to this. 3-song EP is like just such a manageable listen. Like, versus like a 10 or 12 or 14 song album or whatever. I'm like, oh, I can do 3 songs. Like that's like 9 minutes, whatever. I can do that. Whereas like a 50-hour long project, that's a little overwhelming. I'm like,
Yeah, I
so
definitely
I like
agree.
the EP.
I feel like for Roddy, Live Life Fast, it wasn't awful like the way the internet trolls are, but I mean, you put out a mid project and people are gonna fucking go nuts on you, of course, with the internet the way it is nowadays.
Facts.
It was not a good follow-up to Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial, though. That album is phenomenal, and I think people had sky high expectations for him. So hopefully he can get back to that level. I liked what he did here, though.
100%. What do you think about the Lupe Fiasco album? That's an album we've been looking forward to for a minute. We've loved the singles so far. What do you think about the full album?
I really enjoyed it. What was your favorite track off the album?
That's one I listened to in the car. I just listened to it straight one time. I enjoyed just the overall album. But if I had to pick a favorite song, I think I would have to go with On Phone Numb, the outro track. I love that song.
That was a great one. For me, I think it's pronounced Gotti or Gotti. I'm not sure how he's pronouncing it, but it's Ghoti, however you want to pronounce that. I was very impressed with the project, though. This is going to be in contention at the end of the year for one of my favorite albums of the year. Insane production, of course. So, I mean, it's good to get a Lupe Fiasco project. So,
definitely. I think, you're always going to get great lyrics, great production. And he's talking about, he's got some different, like, there's some political themes and all this kind of stuff. Definitely a good project. Definitely worth a listen. We also got the Dot to Genius single featuring Kid Cudi, JID, and Denzel Curry with a Lyrical Lemonade video. This is one of the better Lyrical Lemonade videos we've got in a minute. Like, I love seeing Lyrical Lemonade like level up with the artists they're working with. Like, you take a look back at who they're starting with, and now they're working with Kid Cudi, Denzel, and JID on one song. It's just a crazy collab. It's a great song. If you haven't seen that video, definitely go check it out.
I definitely need to go check it out. Actually, I probably will after this. Friday is like my work day. Like I work at 10 to 8 every time. So I try and get some music in, but I also don't want to be like working with customers and trying to listen to new music as well. So
yeah, definitely get that. And then we've got to talk about Beyonce. I mean, it's been forever since Beyonce has dropped. You got the Carters a couple years ago, but an individual Beyonce song, it's been a while. She's kind of doing the same like house type thing as you saw with Drake. I think there's just like a resurgence of house music in pop music and rap. So it's cool to see.
Definitely. That's one I need to give a listen, but I just haven't been able to yet. Some legends dropping this year. Kanye kind of dropped. Drake's released a project. Kendrick. These aren't people we get at projects from every year, aside from Drake,
One thing you said about the kinda Kanye, I saw a TikTok showing that 3 songs from Donda 2 have been registered with ASCAP, which is the publishing thing. So I think there's some potential we might see them on streaming services this year.
Who knows with Kanye? We haven't been able. He's been very, very quiet, which is kind of a scary thing for Kanye.
There's definitely no middle ground with Kanye. He's either going to be going crazy or radio silent.
I'm really hoping he's at Rolling Loud Miami. I mean, they keep reassuring us with all their tweets and everything. So that was one of the big reasons, of course. Then Kendrick was the reason I bought the ticket. So it'd be disappointing, but I think he'll be there.
Facts. But I mean, even if it's just Kendrick, that is crazy enough.
Definitely.
But I think that just wraps about. We also got to talk about Lil TJ. Lil TJ was shot multiple times this week. He's had a couple surgeries. He's yet to regain consciousness. This is some, crazy news. A lot of rappers have been passing away at a young age recently, and I would hate to see Lil TJ become the next one. Unnecessary violence would be very sad.
Definitely. That's been one of my artists since like senior year football. I just remember True to Myself was just banging all throughout that project. Was very good. So, I mean, prayers up for Lil TJ.
For sure. Let's hope he makes it through. I mean, definitely crazy, but hoping it'll pull through. The next piece of news here, we kind of talked about last week, Drake's album, of course. We kind of projected what it was going to do numbers wise, and we officially have the results. It will debut at number 1, becoming Drake's 11th project to do so, and it sold 210,000 units. What are your thoughts on this news?
Not bad, you know, with not very much. I mean, it was kind of a shock drop. We heard about it the day before, a few hours before. So you know, obviously anytime you can go number one is a blessing.
Big Facts and 11 albums. That is crazy. I mean, I don't know how many artists have done that. Not many.
Not many, yeah. And you know, we get a Drake project nearly every year. So I mean that makes it all the more impressive.
Facts, especially an album that, you know, is getting so much hate. It's still loved by so many enough to go number one. Like, it's just crazy. That's how many fans, that's how many people are listening to this album. It can be hated by Twitter, but it's still going to go number one.
Definitely, you know, Drake's definitely the sales king. There's no argument about that. So
Facts.
got more slaps than the Beatles.
He's not wrong. The next piece of news here, though, the GOAT is back. Nav is going to be dropping on July 29th. Shout out to Charles Debbino. I know he's just going crazy somewhere right now. If he hasn't heard this news already, I bet.
Yeah, I think I sent it to him. We're gonna do a little segment with him. We're gonna get him on for his little album review. We'll give him like a 5-minute thing just to go over his thoughts and everything. So stay tuned for that week.
We got to. I mean, Devin is definitely the resident Nav stan. So if we talk about Nav and it's without Devin, I'll just feel wrong.
Definitely, especially with new Nav music. So we'll be getting him on for that, of course.
Like, I always remember listening to like Beebs in the Trap. That was definitely the intro to Nav. And then, you know, like Perfect Timing. I was checking out the Nav projects as they dropped. But then it was kind of a minute. Like, I didn't listen to Nav for a while. But then Devin was like, you got to listen to Recap with Don Tolliver. You're going to love it. And I was like, okay. So yeah, Devin knows the good Nav. He's been there for the bad Nav, the mid Nav.
He's
a
true
soldier.
fan.
Yeah, he's a true fan. And I don't know if it's a meme or not. I still cannot tell. It's been years.
I really can't tell either, but I respect it regardless. I respect the dedication, of course.
Like, Nav definitely gets clowned, but he does actually have some good songs.
Definitely.
And then the last piece of news, we kind of talked about it. Brent Faiyaz is going to be dropping his album Wasteland on July 8th. I am so excited for this. Talked about it last week, how the, you know, rollout was becoming a little bit more serious, a little bit more underway. But officially July 8th, just 2 short weeks from now, Toxic season is going to be starting. So definitely ready.
Definitely super excited for this project, like we mentioned earlier. So, I mean, not too much we got to get into with this one. That'll be one of our bigger albums we've covered so far. So
for sure, definitely ready. Been looking forward to this for a long time. Brent, I think he's going to put out a classic after all these singles we're getting. I mean, he's the king of R&B right now. I think I'd have to say.
Definitely one of the hottest artists out. I think this could be a big step for Brent here. He's already at such a high level, so this could really solidify his spot as one of the top artists in the game.
For sure. And so to close out the episode, we do have a question from the audience. Dirty Mitch G, the realist, gave us a question. He said, who is on your basketball Mount Rushmore? You know, I think it's definitely a hard question to answer for like who the best 4 of all time are. So we're going to go with who our 4 favorite players of all time are. Do you want to start us off with your 4 favorite players?
Yes. So, you know, my number 1 solidified spot, I'm sure we can all guess this, LeBron James, the GOAT. And these aren't, and then the other 3 just are not in any ranking. There's just players I love. Damian Lillard, you know, love that one because I was sending boys back to Cancun last summer at the Houston basketball courts all the time. So definitely big inspiration. I've loved him since he had that game winner on the Rockets way, way back in the day. So
that's fire.
My 3rd pick would be Penny Hardaway. I absolutely love Penny Hardaway. You know, sometimes you'll see me do a little behind the head pass at the park, and I just got that from his NBA top 10 highlight reel, one of those videos on YouTube, of course. One of the greatest what ifs of all time, I think. Obviously, you know, still an exceptional player and everything. I just wish injuries didn't take him out. And then for my last one here, got to go with the boy, Ayo Dosunmu. You know, he brought Illinois basketball back, you know, through the dark times. Big Illinois basketball fan here, of course, and just one of my favorite players. I'm so glad to see him doing well in the NBA after, you know, they let him slip to 38. So
Yeah, he was definitely a steal for the Bulls. I remember I was working at the Danville Dance baseball game the night he got drafted. I was watching the draft, and I was like, "Oh my god, he hasn't got picked." I was like, "The Bulls are up." I was like, "They have to take him." And then I got the Woj bomb that
I
they
think
did take him. So yeah, that
just
was
the perfect
fantastic.
setting for him. I think he's going to be in the league for a long time. I mean, I think he's proved that he can do anything you want him to do. You want him to facilitate, he'll do that. You want him to drop 20 points, he can also do that. So I'm excited to see the way his career goes.
For sure. I think he can definitely be around for a long time. This was so impossible for me to come up with 4 just because I love so many players. I have 3 that are like locks, but then I have so many that could fill in that last spot. So I tried to run through a couple names that did not make the list, but I got a special shout out to because I feel bad if I didn't. Manu Ginobili, Paul Pierce, Rajon Rondo, Jason Tatum, Dame, KD, Russell Westbrook. There's just so many that I love. But the 4 I went with, if you know me, it's James Harden. I'm a big James Harden fan. Lefty. I'm shooting the fuck out of the ball as many
James
times
Harden,
as I can.
yeah.
That's just what I do.
That's if you guys like want to imagine us as any if as basketball players, Jonathon is definitely James Harden. Who was the comparison you had for me the other day? I couldn't remember.
Oh, I said Lonzo.
Yeah, see, I get it on the defensive end. You're more of a facilitator versus a scorer, but everybody calls him James Harden.
Yeah, I think you're like I would definitely say Lonzo is comparatively a better shooter, but you're a guard that can D up a little bit and create for others. So I definitely think you got some Lonzo in you.
Definitely. Let's move on for some of your picks here, though.
And my next one, Kevin Garnett. This is like my earliest basketball goat. I am the biggest Kevin Garnett fan. That was my first NBA jersey when I was a kid. Had that Celtics jersey. That was a reason I became a Celtics fan. When I was like 10, I saw him on the Celtics. And I said, "That's my team. That's my player." So
maybe if we ever get a room tour, they'll see the big ass KG fat head you have.
I know there's a small one that's in the background sometimes, depending on how my laptop's sitting, but it's like falling off my wall. So if you're ever looking on YouTube, it is in the bottom corner. You might see it sometimes, but the mic kind of covers it up. But I have a huge Kevin Garnett fat head on my wall that I got in 4th grade, and I have not changed my room at all since 4th grade. So yeah. Then I got Kobe Bean Bryant, one of the greatest ever do it. RIP the Mamba. Love the shoes, love the moves, love the Mamba mentality. It's
nothing. I don't. Nothing needs to be said about that.
Yeah, what's understood doesn't need to be explained. You love saying that. That stands very true for Kobe Bean. And then the last person, we had to go with Rip Hamilton. I love Rip Hamilton. I used to play with the Pistons on NBA Live 08 on the Wii. I just remember waking up like Saturday mornings, just like 7 o'clock, and I would just start playing NBA Live on the Wii with the Pistons because I love Chauncey, I love Rip, Ben Wallace. There were some killers. Tayshaun Prince, of course. So yeah, shout out to Rip Hamilton. Those are my 4.
So one last question before we close up the episode here. You had brought up the NBA Live. So who is your throwback team you use for like you're playing one of the homies, they want to do throwbacks. What is your team?
I mean, it's the 07-08 Celtics.
Okay. Yeah, I figured with you. Mine is the 12-13 Heat, or if people, they get a little upset about that one, I either go with the it's like 92-93 Warriors with Run TMC, or the Magic with Shaq and Penny, obviously.
I mean, those are all great teams. I could see why people would be mad about the the Heatles, but I think all those teams are like legends, so I don't think you'd be mad. Like,
I just love fucking Shane Battier. That's one of my favorite players who could have made my Mount Rushmore. Like, obviously, just a dog player, legendary Heat member from his time there with LeBron. So
shout out to Shane Battier, like very underrated player. I remember when we started to play our Paxton League season, Devin made a little Photoshop of us, comparing us to the like 07 Houston Rockets, and he compared Nathan to Shane Battier, or he just put Nathan's face on Shane Battier, I guess. But I kind of like that comparison. Like, Shane Battier is very underrated.
Yeah, that's usually my main scorer.
So yeah, like he could definitely be the leading scorer for that team, just like Nathan.
Definitely. But I think that about wraps it up for this week. Very good episode. As we mentioned beforehand, if you hadn't heard most of the people off the XXL Freshman List or some of the names we mentioned, please go give them a listen because, here at Second Avenue, we just push quality music. So
Just trying to put you guys on. Make sure you guys know the latest, know the greatest. That's that. Yeah, I think this was a solid episode. I like talking about this list. And take a look at our Instagram if you haven't. We're going to be posting our current rotation. We're going to post 3 songs each. That's going to drop on Sunday night, the night before this episode comes out. So if you haven't seen that and you're interested in what we're listening to, go check that out at Second Avenue Pod on Instagram.
of course, but I think that about wraps it up for this week. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys next week.